If you've got your QES report in front of you, at the back is a section on action for business, because this is an absolutely crucial part of what we do as a Chamber of Commerce. And just to remind people, this is the brand that we put our policy and representation work forward. Basically, those are the issues that businesses are telling us are impacting on them. They're the business issues that are holding back growth, preventing people recruiting people, preventing businesses getting around, basically being as profitable as they could be. And as Martin said, this forum really is to get those issues out, to discuss them, and for myself and my team back at the Chamber to go away and work out what we need to do with them, get some campaigns going, but most importantly get some further evidence from businesses and our members as to what some of that will look like. Things I'm just going to go through this morning, I'll be very brief on this because I think it's quite important. We want to hear direct from yourselves as businesses in Greater Manchester on some of these issues. At the last council meeting we had a discussion around what we decided to call intelligent procurement, and there's a paper that went out with your papers for this meeting, just highlighting where we're up to with that. I'll go into that in a little bit more detail. At the present moment in time, we've got 4 calls for evidence that are out, that are live, and again picking up on some of the issues that we've already discussed today. So we've got local transport, broadband or digital infrastructure, funding growth. I've decided to ban the phrase access to finance. I want to concentrate more on how do you actually fund growth, because that's what we need to be concentrating on. Access to finance, to my mind, has got very negative connotations all of a sudden, that access to finance equals bank bashing. Well, I want to move on from that. I'm tired of discussing that. Let's look at what actually needs to be done, and let's also look at what's been proposed up to now by government is actually working. And we could probably spend the rest of the morning talking about that one, but I'll save you from that one, but we'll come back to that in a minute. And fourthly, air passenger duty and aviation policy in general. This has really come out of nowhere over the last few weeks. We picked up on it at the end of last quarter following the budget statement, and I'll come back to that one in a minute. We've got a couple of future issues we want to talk about, and again, just on the point beforehand around the press being negative and how do you control the media, I just want to touch on the Business is Good for Britain campaign. Just going first of all on intelligent procurement. Following the last council meeting, we set up a small working group of members to actually lead on this work and begin to throw some ideas into the pot really about what some of this begins to look like. And as usual, there was some the usual issues and problems that came out of that around why most businesses or some businesses see this as being overly complex, time consuming, resource intensive. The whole system needs changing, and what can we do about it? There was also the issue as well around how local procurement sometimes begins to skew people's mindset around, for example, the local jobs for local people issue. Well, that would be great, but actually it can also be restrictive as well. So how do we get around that particular issue into some form of policy, some form of paper and action? The Greater Manchester Chamber is quite happy to say this is what ideally an intelligent procurement policy should look like. And a couple of the things there, we've got 5 basic issues that again have been detailed on the paper that came out with your papers to this meeting around what we believe are the core fundamental areas that we need to look at. We need to tackle the complexity of the process, not just for those people that are bidding, but also those people that are running it as well. It's amazing the number of public sector bodies that turn to me and say the system from our side is just as complex as it is for people wanting to bid in for it. So we need to look at that. There was a recent REBA report that showed that bidding for all due work took up 30% of all earnings in architectural firms. So just actually bidding for all due projects took up 1/3 of all earnings in architectural firms. And that's not just, non-profitable money, that's non-turnover money. You're not making money, you're not even earning money. Never mind profits on that. So something's got to be done, we feel, about the actual complexity of it. We also need to look at how you actually maximise social value and the impact of that. So this is beginning to address some of those issues around some of those local jobs for local people. We need to track what the impact of having a procurement contract actually means for those businesses and how they can spend that for much further impact and benefit. There's an idea being floated as well around a central supplies register. This will help get around some of those problems around the number of bits of information that you've got to put in time after time after time after time for different bids and contracts. That's where that 30% of earnings go, in having to repeat that information time and time again. Is there a way that some of that can actually be centralised? So we almost upload it once into a central register and just keep it updated as and when you go along. Is there something around that that we could actually look for?